Hey besties!
Hey,
Welcome back for another episode of the Hello Bestie podcast. I'm Maggie.
I'm Tashima.
All right, guys, today we are discussing The Last Flight by Julie Clark. And this was published in 2020, and the genre is thriller suspense. So before we really get into it, I'm just going to give a brief overview of the book. So during a chance meeting at JFK Airport, two women who are terrified and desperate to escape their current lives decide to swap plane tickets. When one of the planes crash, the other woman, who was just hoping to have a head start on a new life, now realizes that she has to completely assume the identity of the other woman's because she's assumed to be dead in this plane crash at this point. So she quickly finds out that this woman has secrets, and yeah, she's totally immersed into this new life. So it's basically what the book is about.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the book is written in dual point of views by the two main characters. So there's Claire Cook and there's Eva James. These are the two women who swap tickets at the airport. So a little bit of background. Claire is the wife of a man named Rory Cook, and he's a well-known, very wealthy philanthropist, and he's looking to get into politics. Mm-hmm. His mother was actually a politician. She's deceased, but they speak a lot about her in the novel, and he basically always felt like he was kind of following in her shadow.
Struggling to create his own identity.
Yeah.
Within that.
So their family is very well known, and by outward appearances, it appears that they have a very happy and healthy marriage, but we realize that it's anything but, because behind closed doors, Rory is physically, emotionally, any type of abusive that he can be to Claire, he is. He's a horrible person to her, and she also has no privacy. Her whole day is planned down to the minute by his team of people because she works within the family's foundation that they have. The only chance that she gets to herself is when she visits the gym.
For like an hour.
Yeah, for like an hour a day in between meetings because his secretary keeps her pinned down to where she has very limited time from meeting to meeting, from this thing to this thing. But that's the only spare time that she gets. Right. And at the gym, she does have a friend there named Petra. And we learned that Petra is basically a friend of hers from school. They met there at the gym, and now they go in the sauna.
To have private conversations.
Yes.
And pretend like so when they're not in the sauna, they act like they don't know each other. They both individually go into the sauna, and then they still don't speak directly to each other. Mm-hmm. They sit in the sauna and then have conversations as if they're not actually talking to one another.
And we learned that what they've been talking about in the sauna is that Petra has been helping Claire escape her abusive marriage. Yeah. So Petra's brother, Nico, has arranged to get Claire a brand new identity, sent her a passport, all of these things, because Claire has a trip coming up to Detroit. And she made arrangements to have all of these things sent to her hotel in Detroit so that she could do what she needed to do for the foundation, and then she planned to just vanish. The night before her flight to Detroit, she kind of like makes her peace with the house. She goes around and says her goodbyes. There's a photo of her mom and her sister, who we find out passed away in a car crash. So Claire is completely by herself without this guy, Rory, and her friend Petra. But they don't know about Petra at all. She ends up taking a computer of his because she feels like he's got some dirt on that computer. So she takes it. And the morning of the flight, his assistant comes in the room and tells her that she's no longer going to Detroit, that Rory is going in her stead, and that she's instead going on a different mission to Puerto Rico. She naturally starts freaking out.
Yeah.
Because if Rory goes to the hotel where she has planned to have this package sent, he's going to know, like, the jig is up at that point.
But she's already tried to leave him in the past, and he has beaten her down pretty severely for even considering it. And then we also had found out that his ex had died under mysterious circumstances.
Right.
So, which makes, like, we don't really know, but there is kind of an inkling that maybe he had something to do with it, but at this point in time we don't really know for sure. But that does make Claire even more uneasy considering how abusive he is.
Right. And she also kind of thought that people wouldn't believe her too, because they did work so hard to put out this positive public image, and now he's going to run for Congress or whatever he was looking to run for. So So she's understandably freaking out on her way to the airport to board this plane to Puerto Rico. She gets to the airport, she decides to have a drink, and she ends up overhearing a woman on the phone who sounds distraught. And we find out that woman is Eva James, and Eva tells Claire that her husband was dying of cancer and that she helped him speed up that process, and that she was worried that she would have legal action for that, obviously, and that she lived in Berkeley and she just needed to escape. She needed to get out, and then she mentioned the movie Freaky Friday, which, if you guys haven't ever seen it, it's Lindsay Lohan, Jamie Lee Curtis, mom and daughter, they switch lives. And she was saying, wouldn't it be cool if if there were a situation where you could switch lives with someone else?
Mm-hmm.
Claire is a little bit standoffish at this point. Like, she's kind of just in her own zone and not really wanting to talk to this woman. But then that perked her ears up because Claire's little sister loved the movie Freaky Friday. And Claire's wheels start to go in her mind, and she thinks that would be an ideal
like
scenario.
A great way to get out of this situation.
Right. So she invites the woman to the bathroom. They go in the bathroom and they decide to switch plane tickets. They switch purses, they switch clothes, and they leave the bathroom to start their new lives, with Claire on her way to Oakland, California, where she plans to, get a head start there and just figure out what she's going to do from there.
Mm-hmm.
And Eva,
she's no longer able to get in contact with Petra.
That's right.
After the whole, she was gonna go to, where was she going originally?
She was originally going to Detroit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So after that plan was set in stone, they basically said their goodbyes and knew that they would not be able to communicate with each other because Petra's brother is kind of involved in like mafia type stuff. So after she got all of her stuff, Petra's number basically was disconnected and she wasn't able to call her to say like, hey, I'm in really big trouble. I have no money, because everything that was going to that hotel was her passport, her money, everything she needed for a new identity. And now she basically has no money, no nothing.
Right.
So yeah, she's just on her own.
So this felt like best case scenario for what they can do.
I have no other options.
Yep.
Because once I go to Puerto Rico, I'm literally stuck in Puerto Rico.
And he's going to know where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they both get on their flights, and Claire, it said like an hour into her flight, she starts to kind of like relax a little bit. And then she gets out at the airport in California and she sees a bunch of people like crowded around TV monitors. She goes up and she sees that the flight to Puerto Rico has crashed. And they are reporting at that time no survivors.
That was the flight she was originally supposed to be on that Eva was on.
Correct. So she's clearly like, oh shit.
And has a lot of survivor's guilt.
A lot of survivor's guilt, and also a lot of confusion on what am I supposed to do now? Like,
right.
I plan to vanish. Right. Now everyone's going to think I'm dead because everyone knows who her husband is. And once it starts to come out who's on the plane, she knew there was going to be a big media story about that.
Right. And her face would be plastered everywhere. So now she pretty much has to go in hiding, where before she could hide in plain sight.
Correct. So Eva, they switched purses. So she had Eva's ID, her house keys, like everything. Mm-hmm. She decides to go to Eva's house, and she does that. And looks around and kind of quickly realizes that something feels out of place. Mm-hmm. Like, this woman said, like, where's the hospital bed? Where's all the medications? Like, this does not look like the home of a woman who is a caretaker for a husband dying of cancer. She sees no family photos, no men's clothes.
It barely looks like she lived there.
Right. She's very much like, I don't know what I've gotten myself into, but I got to roll with the punches until I figure out what to do.
Because I literally have no other choice.
Yep. And then it starts going to Eva's timeline. And the interesting thing, Claire's timeline is up to date with basically what happens up to the crash and then after the crash. Eva's timeline is all like months and days before the crash. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of learning about Eva in the past in that way. Right. So in quick summary, Eva was basically a drug dealer.
Yeah.
It's really sad how she got to be that way, though. Mm-hmm. And So she grew up in a foster home. Well, she was raised in, like, was she raised by nuns? Like, I think
Yeah,
she
in
had
a
a
group
couple different,
home.
yeah, she was raised in a group home. She had a couple different foster homes, and she got caught stealing from one of them, which we find out that she did intentionally because she wanted these,
Self-sabotage.
yeah, self-sabotage. And she ended up becoming like going to school for chemistry in Berkeley. She was really good at it. And
On a
she,
scholarship.
on a scholarship, yeah. And she met this football player who, you know,
Doted on
yep.
her, basically love bombed her. She'd not really experienced that before.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, she was just kind of like initially guard up, and then he broke that little wall down,
Yep.
and then kind of convinced her, as he realized how good she was with chemistry,
Mm-hmm.
he basically convinced her to start making drugs,
Yeah.
like Adderall kind of stuff.
Yeah. Like pills that people could take to help them stay up and
Yeah.
things like that. And somehow they get caught. And when they go to the dean's office, he had told her, like, I'm a star football player. I'm going to get a slap on the wrist. Like, I got you.
I'll take the heat.
Yep.
If we ever got caught, I would take the rap because you have a lot more to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's not how that happened.
Nope. His coach walked in and blamed everything on her, and she got expelled from Berkeley. So then someone approaches her, someone who worked with this football player to make the drugs, and he offers to work with her directly. Like, I guarantee that you can clear $300,000 a year. You just have to make these pills for me. You give me half, you keep half, and you can sell them to whoever you want. Put her up on game. Here's what you need to look out for. Don't sell to junkies. Don't do this. And she did her first transaction after that. Was like, I'm basically a drug dealer now.
Yeah.
So she did that for years.
Years.
Years
I made
and
a lot
years.
of money, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
dang.
Yeah, she was stacking her coins. Yeah.
Maybe I should risk it.
She was stacking it, yeah.
Like offshore accounts, like really set, was just buying season tickets to local
sports events that she didn't even care about.
Yeah.
Boxes and everything.
Yeah, box seats just to be able to make these kind of exchanges.
Yeah. So this guy that approached her, his name was Dex.
Mm-hmm.
So he put her up on game, but also was always trying to like strike fear in her to remind her of how you need to be careful. This is a very dangerous thing.
He was her handler.
Yeah, you're cool as long as you follow the rules, but he made it a point to show her a crime scene, and he told her that they both worked for a guy named Fish.
Mm-hmm.
She never got to meet Fish. She just only, as her handler, dealt with things through him. Eva also makes it a point to have no friends. She's not dating anyone. Mm-hmm. She knows that she has this big secret, and opening herself up to other people would make her be very vulnerable for people to find out. So she just chose not to deal with people at all.
And she also doesn't trust anybody,
Correct.
Especially what happened at Berkeley. Mm-hmm. So she's just at arm's length. And then also as a cover, gets like a part-time job as a waitress just to make it look like this is where my income is coming from.
Yeah, so she could pay taxes basically.
Yeah. Yep. And there's no red flags, but her townhome in Berkeley paid for cash. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, she was doing really well.
Which Claire finds, and she's like,
yeah,
interesting, because she also found pay stubs, and she's like, this don't match up.
Yeah, not for this amount of pennies. You don't buy a townhome in Berkeley.
Right. Yeah. So as we're learning more about Eva, switches back to Claire, and ultimately, Claire like visits a coffee shop finally, and long story short, meets a girl at the coffee shop who offers her a job. This girl works as a caterer. And Claire figures, I don't know how much time I have left here. By this time, Claire has cut her hair, dyed it. She's trying to make herself look more like Eva and a lot less like Claire. Mm-hmm. Because by this time, we forgot to mention, so she called the hotel when she made it to Eva's house and was like, gonna try to tell them, hey, I have a package coming there for me. Can you please route it to this address? And the woman at the front desk was like, oh, yes, ma'am, we received your package. I gave it to your husband a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
So she's like, ugh. He had a secretary, and then he had like another partner that they had this, like, they did like everything on Google Docs. His henchman, yeah. They did everything on Google Docs. Mm-hmm. And the Google Doc would basically like you write it, the person reads it, and then it goes away. So there's no actual record.
Mm-hmm.
Claire knew this, and she signed in as Rory, so she could actually check in real time what they were saying to each other. So at this point, she can see that they know about the plane. Like, he has her passport. The guy, he's like, how the hell did Claire pull this off? What was she trying to do? And they've heard about the plane crash. They're trying to figure out if she was on the plane or not.
Because her seat was empty at the time of the crash, according to the black box. So
they were scared. It was scanned into the flight, but the seat was empty, so that was strange.
Mm-hmm.
So she knows that they're going to try to figure something out. And her main concern is like, okay, the whole world knows that I'm dead now. What's going to stop him from
doing it for real
if everybody thinks that's the case already anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Her plan is just to lay low as long as possible, try to stack a little bit of money while she can with these catering jobs. But she goes to an event for the NFL and sees a football player like grabbing his girlfriend, yelling at her, but almost in plain sight, not to where it was causing a scene, but her being abused. She could see the signs. And
she was working the event as like a server.
Correct.
Under the table to like build her bread.
Yep, absolutely. So she sees this and she inserts herself and tells him to stop. And then she notices that the woman kind of makes a scene, like implying that the guy was cheating on her or something. And it was like a whole big deal. This was like a TMZ, like classic something that would be reported.
Right.
And Claire sees that people are like recording this with their phones. So she's like...
So now her face is all over the TMZ news media.
Yep.
And then she checks the threads, and amongst the hundreds of comments, there's one that's like, hey, doesn't that look a lot like
Rory Cook's wife?
Rory Cook's wife that just died in the plane crash. And people are like, oh, you're so insensitive. You know, like, why would you say that? And then he takes her picture from the TMZ and then her picture from the crash that, you know, like the pictures they were posting of people who died. And then people are kind of like, dang, yeah, that actually does kind of look like her.
Can you imagine, like, her stomach dropping, seeing that comment? Yeah. Like, you go through hundreds and you're like, okay, maybe it'll... Cool. Because she's like...
One guy. It's one guy.
He's like, no, I'm going to prove myself right. Like, look at all these pictures. Look at these side-by-sides.
And from there, it was a wrap.
Yeah.
But then also, as she's living her day-to-day and she's trying to figure out, like, you know, what to do, she's going to this little coffee shop, and then she keeps bumping into this guy that she sees. And he's friendly, but he's just like, oh, you know, nice day for a coffee and a walk. And so she's kind of like, yeah, I guess, you know, like, but she just keeps seeing him. So we have to drop that little tidbit.
Yep, absolutely.
Which makes her feel uneasy.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay. And that also leads to her doing the catering job, because she's like, okay, I don't know what Eva was into, but I need to get out of here.
Right.
Like, between this TMZ thing and also, like, this creepy guy, and she clearly wasn't who she said she was.
Right.
I need to get out of here.
Right. So. And through that point, too, Claire is keeping up with the news broadcast. And they're like the crash, it's a big deal. So they're, you know, doing all the person stories, like you said, of all the people who died in the crash and going into detail. And she sees, like, behind one of the reporters, like, a woman, like, very faintly in a pink sweater.
The same pink sweater that she was wearing that she gave to Eva.
And that pink sweater was given to her by one of Rory's aunts, who, low-key, when she was drunk, like, warned Claire, like, you don't want to get involved in this family. This ain't what you want. These men are not what you want in your life.
This family is not what you want in your life.
And that aunt ended up dying later, but she did put her up on game, or at least tried to. So then Claire is like, and as a reader, I was like, okay, there's a chance Eva's not dead. Like, what's going to end up happening? That was like a pivotal point in the book where there's this hope of like, all right, Eva, like, what did you,
and then she's trying to figure out how would Eva have been able to pull off scanning, like having her ticket scanned, but not actually being on the plane.
Yep.
So now her, like, everything is just not making any sense, but she's still like, neither here nor there. I gotta get out of here.
Right.
Trying to gather her stuff after the whole TMZ thing. She goes on one more job, catering job, to get a little extra money. And the waitress that she befriends kind of has an inkling, like, you know, something, you're running from something, which she does confide in her, like, I gotta get out of here. And she's like, you know what? Like, I completely get it. You're running from something, an abusive ex is cool. Like, if you ever need anything, just let me know. She goes home, she packs her stuff. She's like, all right, I'm going to take Eva's car and I'm just going to drive.
Mm-hmm.
This little bit of money will get me where I'm going to next. Goes in the garage, no car.
Right.
Fuck. Like, what do we do now? And then as she goes back into the house, that same guy that she keeps bumping into randomly, because at this it's like nighttime, happens to be snooping outside of the house.
Yep.
And then he kind of is like, you know, you really need to make sure you keep that front door locked, which has her really freaked out because she doesn't know who the heck this guy is.
Yeah.
She checks the computer one more time and ends up seeing that Rory basically knows where she is. And so she's even more panicked now because of the whole TMZ thing.
Yeah.
And then ends up accidentally typing something on the computer by mistake. And that basically tells them that she's been looking in on their notes.
He had also told his henchmen that he was going to go to California and take care of it. By this time, Claire has found out that Eva was some type of drug lord because she can see pills. Like, she can see that she's been making something and that she's running away from something.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Claire isn't mad about that either, because she's just like, almost like respect, because she could clearly see that I was distraught, that something was going on with me, and she framed her story in a way that she made me feel like it was my decision. But like she was feeding me from the palm of her hand and I walked into it. So respect to her, basically.
Yeah.
She's a smart woman. So going back to Eva and her life, so she's making these drugs, she's making money, she's stacking money, and then weirdly some woman who's like strung out, but the woman's in a nice car, like dressed nice, obviously has money, but obviously is strung out on drugs, tries to purchase from her. And Eva just gets a bad feeling and she's like, no, I'm sorry. I don't have anything. I don't know what you're talking about. And the woman like freaks out and starts yelling at her and Eva leaves. When Eva's leaving, she can see that the woman drove to meet a unmarked police car at a gas station. And she sees the lady talking to a police officer. So she's like,
Try to set her up.
And she's like, I am so glad that I didn't do anything. And she immediately calls Dex. Like, what the hell is going on?
Right.
Because Dex, being her handler, he sets her, like, she can choose her own people that she wants to sell to, but when he sets her up with someone, he supposedly already vetted that person.
Right.
So she's like, who is this lady that you sent me that's all strung out? Like, you know, we don't operate like that. Then they find out that they're being investigated, and Dex tells her, stop everything you're doing. Don't make anything. Let me talk to Fish about it. He's got, like, intel in the police department. Like, we'll figure it out.
Lay low.
And while she's laying low, she strikes up a friendship with her. She lives in a duplex, so the lady that lives on the other side of her duplex is Liz, and Liz is a professor working at Berkeley just for the summer, and had kind of tried talking to Eva a couple times, but Eva really wasn't giving her any play, because like we said, she didn't trust anybody and didn't want to make any friendships. But Liz was almost kind of like a mother figure, so older, and they start hanging out. And Eva starts getting this semblance of, this is what my life could be like if I didn't have to be involved in this drug game. Like,
and this is what nice. I could have had my parent, like my mom, not given me up for adoption, or had my grandparents raised me.
Right.
I could have had this kind of love.
Right.
And I could have not been in this situation and felt complete, and I would have never gotten expelled from Berkeley. I would have been able to be a tenured professor and have this amazing career, you know, in chemistry. And she just really starts thinking what her life could have been had all these bad things not happened, and it all started with her being put up for adoption.
And Liz is also, as good friends do, like asking her questions that makes her think. You know, like, have you ever thought about trying to find your birth parents? Have you ever thought about trying to, and these are things that Eva has thought about, but she just didn't allow herself to really sit in it. But in talking with her, she kind of starts thinking, maybe I should try.
Yeah.
So Eva one night ends up Googling her mom's name and finds out that she died very young, like in her 20s.
When Eva was like 8.
Yeah. Eva is obviously hurt and disappointed, but then she kind of feels like, well, now that makes sense why she never came back for me.
Mm-hmm.
So at least I can let that sit. And she ends up telling Liz, and Liz is like, what about your grandparents? And she's like, I'm not ready to do all that yet.
Yeah.
Like, let me sit with this. And she's like, if you ever decide to, you always can.
Because she also was in her feelings about, so after her birth mom passed away, why didn't my grandparents come get me then?
Correct. Yeah.
You know, like, because my life would have been so much better if they would have raised me. Because
Yeah.
I would have been with people who actually loved and cared about me.
Yeah, back to Claire. She's like wigging out, just trying to make her last little bit of change so that she can escape. And she knows that Rory is essentially coming for her. So she ultimately decides, I think the only way is for me to go public with this. Like, I have to let people know that I am alive. Because also in the notes, the girlfriend that you mentioned earlier that had died mysteriously, she sees that his henchman told him that someone named Charlie heard about him going to run for Congress and said that despite signing an NDA that they were going to come forward.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to say everything that he did to Maggie Moretti and like all the stuff that he's been doing.
Right.
So she can see them freaking out about that. So interesting. And she was a real one for this. She ends up getting a text message on Eva's phone, Eva's burner phone that she got at the airport that said, "Hi Claire, this is Danielle. Like, Rory knows where you are." Now this was Rory's assistant who was always up Claire's ass, always like...
She felt like she was a mole.
She felt like she couldn't trust her and that she was always like reporting back to Rory every little thing that she's doing and basically trying to keep her on schedule with everything. Yeah. Like no leeway, no nothing. So Claire is like torn because first of all, how is she even texting me? But also, I don't know. So anyway, Danielle ends up sending her an audio recording and tells her like, I got your back if you want to use that. Mm-hmm. And the audio recording is the henchman telling Rory that this person's going to come forward about Maggie Moretti. So Claire takes that and she calls a news station and basically is like, I got a story for you. Claire Cook, everyone thinks that I died in a car accident, but I was going to leave him. He's abusive, blah, blah, blah. So the woman was like, okay, we need to verify your story. So she talks to her and Claire tells her, I switched flights with a woman at the airport. That woman is dead now, even though Claire thinks that she's alive because she thinks that she saw her on the news, but to protect Eva. Even after Eva basically set her up for whatever, she's like, I feel the need to protect this woman. Mm-hmm. This woman died in my stead, and I feel like I owe it to everyone to tell the truth, and I want to live my own life. And I can't do that if everybody thinks I'm dead. So this is me coming forward. And I'm always
running and looking over my shoulder.
Right. So the woman tells her, I'll arrange to have someone come pick you up and bring you to the news station so you can do your thing.
So then going back to Eva, like in her past, with all of that stuff that happened with the other undercover cop, and Dex is like, just lay low. She befriends Liz. They start going to different events, which Eva at this point is just using her friendship to look very regular.
Yeah.
But they do establish, over time, she does establish a really good rapport with her. She's like, yeah, I have a daughter. She works for a nonprofit. She's really busy. So Liz just to her seems very lonely. And they basically fill that void for each other.
Yeah.
And so Eva starts feeling like, I need to get out of this. I don't want to do this anymore. Because Liz has kind of started planting these seeds of, you could be more. You could do more. You really not knowing what Eva's got going on in her life.
Right.
Just kind of with that maternal energy starts making Eva question what else she could do with her life, and that this can't be it for her.
Right.
Because there's really no way out of this situation. She's gonna end up dying.
Right.
Because Fish, the person who's in control of all of this, wouldn't let her out, just walk away. So she starts using a little voice recorder in her voice activated recorder in her purse. So when she meets with Dex to do handoffs and stuff, she starts recording their conversations and tries to find out more about Fish, who he is. So that way, if push came to shove, she'd have a bargaining tool to basically go into witness protection and start a new life, because it's the only way that she's going to get out of this situation is with a completely new identity.
Yeah.
And so eventually the undercover cop, like, Dex basically tells her after a while, the coast is clear, you're good. Kind of tells her a little bit of like what Fish has got going on with like the little moles that he has in the different police agencies. But then, you know, that the case was closed, it was a waste of time, it's been however long, and they're not going to put energy into it. And so she's still really apprehensive. And eventually the undercover cop just comes to her directly and is like, I'm really your only option.
Right.
Either you're going to go to jail or he's going to go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, somebody's going to jail. So you can help me, or, you know, it's up to you. And she's like, well, I'm not agreeing or saying anything, but if I were to, I want witness protection. Basically, his bosses were like, Fish ain't that big of a fish.
Right.
So, no.
Mm-hmm.
We can give you protection while
the trial
is going on, but after that, like, you're good. He'll be in jail. And she's like, no.
You have no idea.
Yeah, like,
you call yourself a police officer?
Correct. This is not how this is going to go. So she basically is like, okay, I need to figure something else out. Oh, when she meets the police officer, he basically is like, well, we've seen you with Fish. Because she's like, tell me everything you know. She's like, I've never even met him. And he's like, that's interesting because we have pictures of you with Fish. And she's like, that's impossible.
Right.
He shows her pictures and she's like, that's not Fish. That's Dex. And he's like, I don't know who Dex is.
Mm-hmm.
This is Fish. And so the whole time, Fish, the person who is in charge of this little drug ring, is basically pretending to be her handler, but is really the person in charge. Yep. And he's like, there are some cases, they are rare, but there are people who are in it for longevity.
Right.
They don't worry about ego, and they pretend to be not big players in this situation so that they can keep the circle a lot smaller and have a lot more control over the people and the situations. And so that freaks her out even more.
Yes.
So she's supposed to meet with Dex one last time. Well, not one last time for him, but like for her.
Right.
And she basically is like, I gotta get out of here. So she just gets on a plane and she basically goes to see Liz. And for her, it's kind of saying,
because Liz was only there for the summer, and Liz had gone back home to New Jersey. Yep.
Right, for her primary teaching gig. Yep. And so for her, she was kind of saying low-key goodbye, but also looking a little bit for maternal advice. Liz basically spills her guts.
Yeah,
like she just unannounced shows up on Liz's doorstep and just tells her everything.
But Liz was genuinely happy to see her because she was worried about Eva. Yeah.
Yeah, because they did get a little bit of a tiff right before Liz left, and they didn't say goodbye.
Right.
Eva basically, because Eva had to go back to doing her regular stuff and just felt it was safer to keep Liz at arm's length.
And Liz also knew that clearly something is going on because Dex had come over at one point and she could just tell there was something off between the two of them. I
heard them arguing.
Yeah, and they're like, her energy was off and she's just like, you don't trust me. You can trust me, but you're not. Like, you have some stuff going on that's pretty serious that you refuse to tell me. So then that kind of like upset Eva. Like, see, this is what I get for trying to like be cool with someone. Now I'm expected to spill my guts, and so they didn't end on the best terms. So Liz was genuinely excited to see her when she came. Yeah.
Eva tells her everything, and at the end of it, Liz is like, the best thing for you to do is to go back and own up to what you did, even if that means you got to do a little bit of jail time. At least you can walk away from this with a clear conscience. And Eva's like, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. You know, so she's still kind of up in the air. And then in the meantime, Liz's daughter shows up. And Eva and Liz's daughter had never met.
Right.
So Liz's daughter is kind of like, I got a lot going on.
Right.
Who is this?
Right. We got company here?
Like, why didn't you tell me that somebody was here? Like, I really got a lot of stuff going on. Like, can I talk to you? So they go in the other room, and then Liz's daughter is basically telling, she's like, what's going on, honey?
Oh, so here's the thing. Liz introduces her daughter to Eva as Ellie. And she's
Mm,
like, I don't go by that anymore, Mom. My name is Danielle.
yeah.
So then it's like,
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I didn't even really put it together at that point
Really?
myself
Girl, for me,
until
I
they
was
were in
like,
the
oh,
kitchen. And then Danielle is basically like, my boss, he's such a jerk. He's so nasty to his wife. Um, she's been working on this project for months, you know, for this thing in Detroit. And at the last minute, he's changed it. And now she's going to Puerto Rico. And something about this whole situation just doesn't feel right. Something isn't right. And so you basically find out that Danielle is Claire's Danielle.
yep,
And then that kind of like loops everything in. And while Danielle is talking to her mom about how this whole situation and how Rory is abusive and all of this
yeah,
stuff, um, Eva basically goes on the computer and is like,
yeah, because she's ear hustling. Yeah.
okay, well, this is interesting. Maybe I can do something with this information.
Hmm.
And she Googles her and changes her flight to go from wherever she was originally supposed to leave from. She changes it to the same airport that she just heard that Claire is leaving from.
Yep.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yep. Hmm.
And then basically that, so they're meeting at the airport, which seemed very random,
Right.
was not random at all. So
Mm.
instead of going back to Berkeley and kind of like confessing all of this stuff, she basically goes to meet up randomly with this woman who she could tell would also want a way out of a really bad situation.
Right.
And then going back to Claire, before she had left, she found Eva's little lab and
Hmm.
it had a confession, like a whole package with all the recordings and all of this stuff
Hmm.
set up for the police officer. It was like, hey, I don't want any parts of this, but here's everything that I have.
Right.
Good luck.
Right.
And so before Claire left Eva's house, she basically took all of that stuff with her.
Yep, because she's being told that someone's going to come pick her up and take her to the news station.
Yeah.
So the cop ends up coming and is asking Claire, like, what, what's going on with why are you here and going through all this?
And he
And
comes because her Eva's phone was cloned. So every
yes,
call, every text, everything that's done on Eva's phone, they knew about it. So the entire conversation that Claire had with the reporter, the DEA detective or whatever, he heard everything.
yep,
And so basically popped up at the hotel that she was hiding in after she found out that Eva didn't have a car in her garage.
right.
Yeah, it was like, I need to know what's going on.
Hmm.
And so she's like, I don't know, but I'm assuming this is for you.
Yeah, and she's also like, you already know what's going on
Yeah.
because you
And
heard the
she's
whole phone
dead.
call. Right.
Even though she suspects that she probably is alive.
Right.
But it's not for her business to expose whatever she's running from.
Right.
She just wants, she's like, that's for Eva to determine for herself.
Yeah, you do your job. She's
Mhm.
made it a lot easier for you.
Yeah.
So you take this information and like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
And he tells her, I'm gonna be honest with you, get on the air as quickly as you can. Like you need to be seen as quickly as possible.
So that people know you're alive.
Yep. So a car pulls up and she notices that the guy is like kind of big and he's got like a sleeve tattoo that his shirt is covering or whatever.
Spacers in his ears.
Yeah, like, and Eva had told her at the airport, like, everybody in Berkeley is a little bit weirder than you are. And Claire mentioned that again, like, huh, interesting, but okay, cool. So she gets in the car with this guy. And while she's in the car, she gets a text message on Eva's phone again from Danielle that's like, hey, Rory already has people in California on the ground looking for you right now. There's a big guy with the sleeve tattoo. Be careful. And like, Claire's just like, oh my God, because she's in the back seat of the car, like with this guy. So that was a bit of a scare, but it turns out he was legit. He did work for the news agency. She gets there, she does her interview, and she basically
spills the tea.
Spills the tea on everything. Goes to the epilogue after that point, basically. And at this point, Rory is in jail, and Petra has met back up with Claire. Claire's going through the divorce with him. She's planning to move to California, out to Berkeley, because she loved it so much out there. She didn't want to be in Rory's house anymore in New York. She could have gotten the house, could have gotten all this stuff. She's just like, I just
Clean
want to be
slate.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's able to basically go and start fresh and live her life.
Yeah,
And
she
then,
reaches out to, I forget that chick's name that she makes friends with from the cafe.
I forget her name too,
Yeah.
and that's a shame too. 'Cause
Yeah, she was
she
a
was
key
pivotal,
part, but
right?
she basically reached out to her, told her everything, and she ended up helping her find an apartment
Yep.
there. And yeah, she was just gonna basically use a little bit of money that she got from basically from Rory, kind of
Yeah,
sounded
like
like
a
an
settlement. Yeah.
alimony type thing. To use that to buy her some time until she could find a job, maybe at like a museum, using her art degree,
Right.
and then yeah, start a new life. And then it goes to like present day Eva,
Right.
like of the
Finally.
flight, the day
Yeah.
of the flight.
So it talks about Eva, and also before Eva had left, she kind of still had this like nagging feeling of like, I need to find out who my grandparents are. I just need to see them.
Oh yeah.
So she had gone to their house. I think this was before she flew out to see Liz, but she had gone to
Mhm.
their house, and like the house was just run down, like just raggedy, not well taken care of. The yard was horrible, all this stuff everywhere. She knocks on the door, like a guy opens the door, and he's like, she just instantly smells smoke
Body
and
odor.
body odor, and like he has missing teeth, and he just looks gross and unkempt. And then there's a woman in the background. I was like, who is that? And he's just kind of like, well, what do you need? And she just looks, and they have the same eyes. And like internally, like her heart just breaks. And she's just like, why did I even assume it would have been any better than this? Like,
Yeah.
why did I think that, you know, she just had these visions of grandeur. Like, my life would have been so much better if my grandparents had taken me in, if my mom wasn't a drug addict, if. And when she
She
gets back
lived
in her
her whole
car,
entire life in comparison to a fantasy that didn't exist.
yeah.
Because
And
she did acknowledge if things didn't happen the way that they did, she would have never ended up in Berkeley having lived in this kind of environment.
yeah, she's like, I was way better off without that.
Mm-hmm.
So now,
She made peace with that.
yeah, she made peace with that. So, present day airport, she's giddy, she's excited, and she's really considering. Now, she had scanned into the flight, but she's still kind of like on the fence, like, should I get on or should I not? I'm already scanned in. It would be easy for me to just like pretend like I'm on the phone and just duck off over here. And she decides to do that. But then a flight attendant sees her and is like, ma'am, you need to stand over here. You're already scanned into the flight.
Yeah.
So she's like, all right, I'll go to Puerto Rico. Once I get there, I'll figure out what to do. I got tons of money. Like, she's multi-millionaire at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can figure out what I'm going to do from there, what are my offshore accounts, but it'll be cool. Fresh start, clean slate. And one of the last lines is that she taps the outside of the airplane for good luck.
Which a lot of people do.
And I was like, no. So
Yeah.
she did perish, but man, yeah.
So that is it.
That is it. So yeah, we learned early that Eva died in the crash, and then there was that little glimmer of hope, that pink sweater.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, then you found it, and yeah, she died in the crash. So
yeah. The end.
The end.
Yeah.
I think on Goodreads this book is rated like a 4, which I agree with. I thought it was a really good book. What do you think?
Yeah. I would say like 3.5 to 4.
Interesting.
Just because it felt like Eva's backstory, I feel like took a really long time.
Oh.
I don't know why. It just seemed like I don't know. I was just like, oh, okay.
No, sometimes things take a long time, but then you can't think of things to cut out. Can you think of places where they just elaborated more than they needed to or said more than they should have?
Not necessarily. I don't know if it was just like the going back and forth, but it just seemed like I kind of got it after a while. Like I understand.
Got it, yeah.
That this is her life, and it just seemed like the dealing and the like how she did it and all of that, like the waiting in line to go to the bathroom and you know, like the exchange of things, it just seemed like, okay, I understand.
Gotcha.
She's a dealer.
Gotcha.
Noted.
All right. I feel you.
So, but I mean, I enjoyed it. I will say that although it's two different narrators, they did kind of sound alike.
They did.
So I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I would have enjoyed like a little bit of difference, but maybe that is also plays into they want us to feel like this is how they are able to resemble each other so closely.
Yeah.
Like how Claire was able to change her hair a little bit, cut her hair, and could have passed for Eva, you know, from across the room. So maybe that's why the narrators sound a little bit alike. I don't know.
No, it was interesting for me because I physically read the book first and then I listened to it again on audio, and then it was interesting to put voices to, you know, the ones, but they did sound a little similar now that you mentioned it.
Yeah. Sound a lot similar. But yeah, I mean, I did enjoy it. It just was a little like, but again, I'm a moody reader, so I just wasn't necessarily in the mood all the time. So that also could play. Like, I'm willing to say that might have had something to do with it too.
That's fair.
So
yeah. All right, guys. The Last Flight by Julie Clark.
Yep. So let us know down below your thoughts and if you have any recommendations on what we should read next. And we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.